Good morning. Good morning. It is Tuesday, May 23rd, 2023. I can't believe it. I have coffee. I have cursey words. I have music in my head because this morning I was just rocking out. It's Dave week and I can't contain myself. You're going to see it. There's just no containing. Even though we're talking about some heavy topics today, there is still no containing the fact that this is Dave week. So this morning I started off with covers. I love All Along the Watchtower because it drops like a dirty, nasty bass beat from Stefan Lessard, and I love it. But Sledgehammer, the Sledgehammer cover is so good, and it's one of my favorite covers live. So if I look like I'm sweating a little bit, it's because I was dancing in my bathroom, because it's what you do when you stay up until way too late recording the podcast and then wake up in the morning and gain your energy from dopamine, and music provides that for you. So that's what's been going on with my morning. How's your morning been? So good. Jay, yes. Yes, it is. And you can use the full word here. We do that. Look, man, shaking that ass. Here, I am so ready. I am so ready to unleash Concert Emily. Concert Emily is a whole nother level of ridiculous fangirl-ness. Yeah, it is on another level. I am ready. It's summertime. I am ready. I'm ready. I'm feeling it. So today we have to talk about these new motions in Idaho. And by new, I mean, finally, I'm going to rant. I'll get there. I'm going to rant. But by new, I mean new to us because they weren't publicly available yesterday. I have thoughts. I have thoughts. It was nice to be on Court TV last night. It was good. It's always fun. TV is always interesting, but it's always fun. It's great that I can do it from my house. You probably would see me on no TV if they made me leave my house. They're like, you can remote in. Great. I'll be there. So absolutely be there. Which was really fun last night. And I try to share that everywhere. Octo's like, I'm ready to. Octo is joining me for Dave, for Octo's first time of Dave with Emily. It's a different, I'll let him explain next week. Dave Emily is a different Emily. We all have our things. My kid was like, Mom, sometime I'll come to a Dave show. I'm like, I don't know if I'm prepared for that. We can get seats in different sections. You can come with your friends. I need to be in a separate section. Because I don't know if my kid needs to see Emily Dave. I don't know about that. So today we're talking about these new Kohberger motions after I rant about the fact that they're new, but not new, but new, but not new, because I have thoughts. And then we're going to talk about TikTok and Montana a little bit because I'm fascinated. And I don't think the government can do that, no matter how much they might want to do that. But we're going to talk about that because I'm curious. I have thoughts. I want to know your thoughts. We're having a chat about it. If we need to do a deep dive on a day when my brain is not otherwise in Idaho, we will do a deep dive. Here's what's happening tomorrow. All of the members that were in the behind the scenes recording of the podcast late last night know how I feel about tomorrow's podcast episode. Tomorrow's podcast episode, we are jumping back into the Petito Laundry civil lawsuit. This is between the parents. There is information that's been reported on that we are touching back in on because tomorrow afternoon, there is a court hearing that I think will be a very big court hearing in this case. And when you look at it, it's like, oh, it's a hearing for a motion on a protective order for discovery. But the piece of discovery is a real big deal. So tomorrow's court hearing is going to be real interesting, and that's going to be streamed. So since I'm not streaming on Thursday, I thought we would just do a quick little stream for that court hearing. Should be about an hour. And I thought we would just cover it together. So we are going to we are going to cover the podcast tomorrow in a premiere like we do. So I'll be able to chit chat with y'all in the chat. And I want to see the rage in real time. And then we will cover the court hearing. So you guys will be all caught up. I think that's going to be great. So it's wild. So June isn't the new hearing. No change, no more. June is a new hearing in Kohberger. There's a hearing in Petito Laundry tomorrow. So we're going to do that tomorrow. This discovery hearing, man, this piece of discovery that they're trying to get, should I just give you a hint? It is the burn after reading letter that you might have heard about in the news. That letter is what they are trying to get a protective order to stop from coming out. And that's what the court's hearing tomorrow. It's a big hearing. It's a big hearing for this case. This case is supposed to go to trial over the summer. This might be our summer trial. Florida's going to be busy this summer. Florida's got a lot of trials going. Florida be like, hey, it's real fucking nasty in the summer. We're going to be in with the air conditioning. We'll take the fall off. So it's going to be a busy summer, but tomorrow, that's what's happening. And then I will be off because it is Dave weekend and I have friends coming in from out of town and out of state, and Octo is coming in. My friend Candace is coming in, and we are going to eat, drink, and be merry, because you can't avoid saying that. And it's Nashville. Like, nothing's been more true than Dave and eating, drinking, and being merry. So let's talk about these Kohberger filings. Y'all, the way I'm so annoyed. Let's roll the intro. Let me know where you're coming in from, what you're drinking. I have a Law Nerd suggestion. I've been sweetening my cold brews with chai. It's glorious. And then yesterday, when I was showing you my other cup that still has yesterday's cold brew in it, a lot of you said, you can do the thing with the Stanley cups. And I said, yes. I've seen the TikToks. I just had not done it. So this will prevent my hands, prevent it from sweating and dripping and keeping it cold. I also have backup water and backup water. So we have all the things. We have all the things. It's good to see where you guys are coming in from. Hello. Lots of coffee. It just really depends on the time of day, truly, depending on where you are. Oslo, Norway, it's like, could be coffee, could be drinks, could be melatonin. It just depends. Lots of you up in the north. So it's good to see everybody. Alrighty. I love Huntsville. It's so fun. I love chai too. Let's roll, Law Nerds. Let me roll the intro. I'm going to keep looking at where you're coming in from while it rolls. And that's the podcast intro, Emily. Let's actually do the live stream intro. Can I tell you guys a secret? There's not that many of us here. So have I mentioned that I'm doing a panel at VidCon? I'm doing a panel at VidCon. I learned yesterday who some of the other creators on my panel at VidCon are. And one of them's Anthony Padilla. And I don't know if I have any chill about that. I'm kind of geeked. Like, not kind of. I'm a whole lot geeked. Oh my God. I saw Hot Springs, Arkansas. Love Hot Springs, Arkansas. Love it. There are places in Arkansas I've actually been. I'm kind of geeked, you guys. Law Nerds. I'm kind of geeked about it. I am. Let's roll the intro. We're going to talk about it. I mean, at least a little bit.
Hey there, I'm Emily D. Baker, the internet's go-to legal analyst, breaking down the legal side of the pop culture and entertainment stories we can't stop talking about. I'm a big fan of the cursey words. I've been a licensed attorney for over 17 years, but this is not legal advice. This is where the Law Nerds unite to talk about facts, not... Let's get into it.
What I love is when we were talking about this yesterday and talking about the panel, they were like, so these are the other creators. And they're like, Anthony Padilla, he does this interview show. But I'm like, say less. I know Anthony. I love that YouTube is so big that there's no assumptions that you know who creators are, right? Because YouTube is such a large place. You just never know who watches what. And I watch so many different facets of YouTube that it's funny, but I was like, shh. I've The tattoos alone, like how was the tattoo decision made? Is there a video somewhere? Like I need to know. But Anthony Padilla is like such a well-known YouTuber. I imagine that when they were explaining to Anthony Padilla who the other YouTubers on the panel were, they're like, okay, so Emily D. Baker, she's a purple-haired lawyer that covers court cases. I imagine that Anthony Padilla's response was not, say less, I'm obsessed with Debt Fee Heard. I imagine that's not what happened, but me being like, no, I got it. I know exactly who you're talking about. We're good. I really love Anthony's interview series. I love that he sits down with all different kinds of people and creators and and I mean, of course, he's done so much on YouTube, but I love the I Spent a Day With series. I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. So with all of it, let's rant. Let's talk. Let's gag order. We got to go to Idaho real quick. Let's go to Idaho. We're going to have a chat about Idaho being Idaho. Here's the thing. Cicely in the chat said, EDB, loving allegations and shade. They work with my almost Halle Berry complexion. Glorious complexion, by the way. And I'm so glad. I really wanted to make sure that when we did, look, since we're talking about them, they are here. Of course, they're on my desk. Otherwise, I would never have lip gloss. They have to sit on my desk or I would die. When we worked on these, I wanted to make them sheer enough that they would complement and pick up your skin tones. And I have not seen anyone who's been like, these colors don't really work for me. And that's what I wanted. And that is something that, I wanted to make sure all of the law nerds who are inclined to wear lippies could find lippy that worked for them in this set, if not all of them, because I think all of them work. So I am so excited for you all to try them. We've got all of the information on Nightbot and down below. I wanted them to be wearable. I don't want my lips to walk into the room first. Some people can rock like a super bold lip, and I rock a bold lip and spend the entire time in anxiety that it's on my teeth, and I don't have the energy. I don't have the energy for that. Oh, I'm going to tell you one more story. Okay, and then we're going to go to Idaho. Last night, I was doing exactly this last night, getting ready for court TV. And when you do TV, this is probably something a lot of you know because a lot of you work in the industry, but you have to do check-ins with various people to make sure that your like framing is correct, that your audio is correct, that you don't have your microphone like a OG podcaster, so that you are like TV ready. And so as I was doing my lippy last night, my friends over at Court TV, because I've been on so much, they all know me. They're just like, wait, Emily. And I was like, what? And they're like, is that a light in your lip gloss? And I was like, oh, it's a light. It's a light. And they're like, what? I'm like, there's also a mirror. There's also a mirror. So you can check if you have food in your teeth or put your lippy on or both. But there's a light and a mirror. And he was like, oh my God, that's brilliant. I'm like, right? So we had a full conversation before on air as I was putting my lip gloss on while I was doing my my sound and framing checks. It's so good. It was like, oh, no way. So it's too funny. All right. So I love the crew at Court TV. They are so welcoming. They are a lot of fun. I feel like everyone's on a first name basis because you just get to know them. It's great also that they run pretty consistent with who their crew is, so you can get to know people. And they're professionals. They're great. So I enjoy them. Though I have to say, okay, I'm almost done with story time, I swear. A lot of time for sound check. They will ask you to count up, count down from 5 or whatever, sometimes more, sometimes less. There was one sound check I did, not for Court TV, for another outlet. And the sound engineer was like, okay, we need to do sound. I was like, great. And he's like, 2 truths and a lie. I was like, wait, what? I was not prepared for that. We had the greatest conversation over 2 truths and a lie. I don't just have a 2 truths and a lie like in my back pocket. I need to do that because it was real obvious what my lie was because A, I put it last, and B, I had to think about it. But it was really funny. And I was like, this is such a great way to do a sound check because you get to have a little combo. And I said, this is fantastic. No one's ever asked me anything. It's always like count down from 5. And I'm always like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, lift off. Because I try to make a joke. But it was so fun. I was like, this is a great idea. It's like, yeah, I get to know a little bit about our guests and I get to have a little bit of a chat. I'm like, so now I need to actually, now that I'm telling that story, rethink what my 2 truths and a lie are. To have one in my back pocket. Maybe I'll just start using the ones from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills because they all did 2 truths and a lie. The fact that I played men's water polo always gets thrown in there somewhere. So those kinds of things that when you see like 40 plus year old me, you wouldn't necessarily guess. And that's okay. I love that. So yeah, I should just start doing, my favorite drink is gin. Lies. All right. This is my natural hair color. Stacy, that's a great idea. This is my natural hair color. It's so funny. So I thought it was just absolutely great. Thank you so much, Rachel. I have not seen it. I have heard about it, but I have not seen it. So we should get to Idaho. But I love two truths and a lie. One of the icebreakers at the DA's office, depending on which office we were at, was always Mary F. Kill. That was always a fun one. A lot. And I love seeing people still play it on like social media. I'm just like, have we moved past? I haven't moved past it. I still think it's fun. You get to hear people's thought processing and you get to hear how they make these decisions. And I'm fascinated with the decision making. It's just, how do you decide this? I don't know. Let's go to Idaho, shall we? Law nerds, we need to talk. Here's the thing. Idaho has their like public website where you can grab information from high profile cases. Every single jurisdiction does this differently. California is like, hey, pay us like 50 cents a page. Other jurisdictions like Virginia are like, here is our court website. Here are all the documents. Don't bother our court clerk. Don't ask us for copies. We know you're interested here. Idaho has kind of done the same thing, just not as easily as Virginia did, with a court website that has all of their cases of interest, including Kohberger, including all of the documents in the appeal case, the Daybell cases. Do they have anything else up here? Let me take a look. I think it's just the Daybell cases, and then that's it. No, there's another one. Aaron Anson von Elger. I don't know that case, but it is another one of their high profile cases. It looks like that hasn't been updated since 2022. So it is on their public facing website, but in places like California or on the federal website, you see the docket, and the docket shows you everything that's going on in court. The docket shows you if a hearing's been scheduled, if somebody's filed a document, even if it's not ready yet. Sometimes in California, or at least in Los Angeles, you will see that something's been filed, but you can't get the filing yet because it's not scanned. But you start to have an idea of what's going on in court, what hearings are happening, and what's going on. In Idaho, you can't see the docket. We talked about this in the media motion with regard to the gag order. You can't see the docket. So you don't know if something's been filed, if a hearing's been set or whatever. So yesterday there was a motion hearing, and it's like, what is this motion hearing? What's the motion hearing? I don't know. It could be anything because we didn't have the motions that had been filed, because the motions were filed on May 19th, and then they didn't pop up onto the website until May 22nd, but they were filed on the 19th. So things are not happening in real time on that website. In Virginia, they seemed to be happening in real time, or at least I did not notice that there was a gap in time between when things were happening or filed and when things are put public. Here, there is a noticeable gap because I was on this website with y'all a lot yesterday, and I was like, what is happening? because we had all of the notice of hearings and then nothing else. So there are 4 new documents that we did not have yesterday. Because, why? Because that's how they're doing it. But it definitely slows that down. And it's a bit frustrating to not be able to see the docket, because when you see the docket, you can really get a sense for, oh, there's hearings coming up. What's going on? You can know what's happening. This makes it harder to know what's happening because they're holding things and putting them up after the fact. So we didn't know what the motion hearing was for because the motions weren't released yet. Well, the motions are released now. We saw some of that. Well, we saw all of that yesterday. This motion hearing has gotten put over to the end of June, but we saw the scheduling yesterday. Darren in the chat, Darren Emily writing is saying American law is so confusing because each state is slightly different. I would say each state is bigly different. And then the federal is different too. We talked about this a bit yesterday as well. Each state is different. Jurisdictions within the state are different. Like you can't just go to California and find cases. You have to go to each county to find cases. And those are all different. And their websites are all different. And the way they do it is all different. Same, like you go to Nevada, you have to know which county you're in to find the cases that you're looking for. And if you go to one and search for it, it doesn't say, oh, by the way, next county over. You have to go find it. So it's not always easy. When I was a research attorney, I don't mind digging around, but some states charge you for searches. So it's like, great. So the state system is a challenge. The federal system, so much easier. That's one kind of unified. Well, I mean, bankruptcy is kind of a little wonky in there, but the federal system is much easier to find. So let's talk about the 4 different things that have been filed. We have a motion requesting release of grand jury materials, a motion to make available the record of all proceedings at the grand jury, a motion to enlarge time to file. Don't ask me why they do this in Idaho. Y'all are going to be like, Emily. Motion to enlarge time. Look, man, I clearly couldn't practice in Idaho because I'd be like, what am I, a fluffer? What are we doing? The motion to enlarge time. Can it be a motion to extend time? I guess that could be joked about the same way. A motion for more time? Why is it enlarge? Why is enlarge the word? Motion to enlarge time. Can time be enlarged? What? It's time. Time is a construct. How do you enlarge it? I don't know. I couldn't. And then there's an order with regard to enlargement of time. Motion to engorge time. Exactly. Embiggen. I don't know. Why is this? Why is this the word? Why is this the motion? Why is it a motion to enlarge? It's time. Extend time. More time. Why? Why is it a motion to enlarge? We're going to do the grand jury first so that I can compose myself, maybe. And then we can talk about the motions to enlarge later. Motions to stack time. Yes, exactly. Your Honor, we would like to enlarge the stack of time, which is a construct of man anyway. It is. Chat, it is. Just another Sarah, it is wibbly wobbly and timey-wimey. I don't know what's happening. Let's get to this first motion. We'll get to the first 2. Let's talk about the grand jury. So, Emily, share your screen. Hey, every stream, Emily, you share a screen. So maybe do it before. No. See, here's the thing. When I'm getting ready to stream, I have not done it yet because I am generally running late and trying to make sure I send out all the reminders. We are coming up with a unified reminder system, and I am so excited. I'm so excited. So lawnerdalert.com, and you will be the first to know about our unified reminder system. Guess what? It's still not shared. There it is. Motion requesting a release of grand jury materials under qualified protective order. We knew this was coming because we saw them talk about it in the briefest of brief ways yesterday. Comes now Bryan C. Kohberger. So this is a defense motion to do all the things they said above. All the materials and any and all information contained therein shall be disclosed only to. So this is the qualified protective order. All legal counsel representing Kohberger and the Latah County Prosecuting Office. Further, all persons on Kohberger's defense team and the Office of the Prosecuting Attorney shall observe the terms of the qualified privilege protective order issued in conjunction with this qualified protective order. Any expert witness, investigator, or consultant of Bryan Kohberger's defense team and the prosecuting office for whom access to the materials is necessary to perform their duties, any personnel of the court. So this is the, hey, Your Honor, and this looks like it has been served and all the things. This is the qualified protective order. We would like you to give us all the grand jury materials. Here's the protective order. We will make sure that they are not seen outside of the people that are actually working on this case, which is totally fair and makes sense. So that's there's nothing unusual about that. Those should be protected. Those don't necessarily come up in trial unless there is something that's kind of an anomaly and they're cross-examined about it, and then they get cross-examined about it. These things are going to go to the defense at some point. They're asking to make sure that they get it. Now, I just saw this super chat. Molly, congratulations. Just found out I've passed exams and now a doctor. Congratulations, Molly. Do you guys do a white coat ceremony in the UK? I don't know if you do, but I saw the pound sign there. So I figured that that maybe they do. Maybe they do. So congratulations to you, Dr. Molly Evans. Cheers. I love seeing the law nerds congratulate as well. It's great. Motion to make available the recording or the record. Sorry, not recording. The record of all proceedings of the grand jury. This is defense motion to make sure that they get all of it. So let's see what they think was presented at grand jury and what they're asking for. And then I have thoughts about why they went to grand jury, because I've been noodling on this a lot. I have some new thoughts from yesterday. I've got some new thoughts for a lot from yesterday, actually. So we're going to get to those at the end. Counsel specifically requests that the following be included in the record to be provided. So this is, hey, you have to provide this stuff. Don't leave anything out. This is more of a CYA than an actual, like, they weren't going to give it to the defense. This is we asked for it specifically. A copy of any and all petitions for summoning a grand jury related to the case. A copy of any and all order or orders assigning judge related to this case. I don't know if that normally gets disclosed. I don't know if the order is assigning the judge. I mean, unless it just says it's assigned to this judge, I don't know if the internal documents would ever get disclosed. Copy of any order summons to the jurors. I don't know if they will get that. A transcript of the initial seating of the grand jury, which ultimately heard evidence in the case against defendant. The transcript should include, but not limited to, a list of all prospective jury pool. Administration of the oath to prospective grand jurors. They might be able to do that by number, voir dire of prospective grand jurors, by the prosecutor and the court, any questionnaires or instructions given to them, a verbatim transcript of the proceeding in which evidence against the defendant was presented to the grand jury, that they'll get. In addition to a record of testimony presented to the grand jury, that transcript should include a record of comments of the court and prosecuting attorney and deputy prosecuting attorneys to the grand jury, whether in opening statements or closing remarks or in response to questions by the grand jury, and any questions submitted by the grand jury. This is also going to help the defense narrow down what the prosecutors are building their case around. And that's really helpful for them because they got 51 terabytes of data. A copy of the grand jury or copy of the jury instructions provided to the grand jurors, lists of the names of grand jurors who heard evidence. I don't know if they'll get that. A copy of any and all documents or records and a transcript of any and all proceedings contained, because grand jury proceedings are secret. So I don't think they will get that. But the rules might be different in Idaho, so they could. I just, often they don't. A copy of all documents or records and a transcript of any and all proceedings containing the information below, the number of grand jurors and presence of a quorum per Idaho Rule 6A, the summoning of the jury per the rules, the impaneling of the jury, the grand jury presiding juror, deputy presiding juror, and all the rest of it. So they're like, per the rules, if any of record of any of these things happened, we want a record of every proceeding of the grand jury. An inquiry by the prosecutor, a list of elements of offenses provided by the prosecutor, so the jury instructions basically, evidence given by the prosecutor, subpoenas, opening statements, jury instructions, questions, indictment prepared by the prosecutor, which they already have. Unless there was one that wasn't done, all recorded proceedings in the case, the presence of any and all persons at the time the grand jury was in session. So if anybody else was there, who was it? Any returned indictment, they already have that. This is going to be like a pro forma, like, hey, give us all this. This is like everything at a grand jury. Hey, give us all this, which is also like CYA. Because if you forget to ask for something in criminal, it should never be the case that if you forget to ask something, you don't get it. The prosecution has an affirmative obligation to turn things over. So if someone goes to the prosecution in a case after all the discovery's been turned over and gives a statement to them, that statement still has to be turned over to the defense. So the defense gets it whenever the prosecution gets it and has it. It's not like they can be like, oh, we already turned over discovery and you never asked for it, so we're not turning it over. There are limited circumstances where, of course, that can happen, but that is not the norm. So this is more of a, we're asking for everything just so you can't say we didn't ask. And then the basis for the motion, and then moves for the court to order costs necessary for the preparation and completion of the record paid at the county's expense. Not a surprise, because they're going to have to put together the discovery. So the defense is saying, hey, here's the proposed protective order. Here's what we're asking for. I don't know if they're going to need a hearing on this per se. This might be resolved before that hearing date, but they do have outstanding motions to compel. So there will be information with regard to the motions to compel that might need to be compelled. And we might see that hearing go forward at the end of June. But that hearing could also resolve before the end of June if the parties resolve it amongst themselves. It seems generally the parties have been able to work some of this stuff out. So we'll see. They might not want to have these types of discovery disputes in public, meaning they would resolve it themselves and take it off the docket. Will we see that happen? I don't know. Let's look at the motion to enlarge, and then we will talk grand jury, and we will talk my thoughts a little bit more from what happened yesterday. Motion to enlarge time and file pretrial motions and memorandum in support. I don't know why this is the language that Idaho uses in their code, but it is. Have I seen another jurisdiction use enlarge time instead of motion for extended time? No. Do enlarge and extend, are they used synonymously? Maybe? I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Idaho, I have questions. Motion for more time? I don't know. This I find kind of funny. I just do. It's just funny. Why is enlarge time the proper title of the motion? How does enlarge even apply to time? Your Honor, make the time bigger, which is really just more time. I don't know. Maybe we need to petition all the states to start calling them motions to enlarge time, and at least the lawyers can be entertained. So it's funny. Yes, I beg the court's indulgence to let me giggle about the enlarged time because I practice in a jurisdiction where the words were not this funny. So, here's the thing that hopefully you take away from the lawyers. It's the small things sometimes, because being a lawyer doesn't mean you laugh a lot. And so if you can find things to laugh at in the practice of law as opposed to crying, you take them. It's not always terrible, but this is funny. Procedural history. The indictment for the above titled matter was filed on May 16th. Counsel for defendant filed its initial request for discovery on January 10th. Counsel for the defendant filed a motion to make available the record of all proceedings of the grand jury on May 19th. Based on the amount of time it will likely take to receive and review all grand jury materials for this matter, counsel will need additional time to file pretrial motions pursuant to Idaho Criminal Rule 12. So this was on the 19th before the court hearing. They were already anticipating setting a trial date, it seems to me, within the period without waiving time. So, Your Honor, we need more time for the pretrial motions. Counsel requests enlargement of time to file pretrial motions of at least 28 days from the receipt of requested materials and other grand jury materials and other discovery materials as or previously requested. At the time of the filing of this motion to enlarge time, counsel for the defendant has not received any of the grand jury materials. This is filed 3 days after the grand jury. I'm not surprised. The transcripts probably weren't even done yet. So that's not odd. The review of such materials are critical to the adequate preparation of the defense's defense or the defendant's defense. I'm not surprised by that. And will cause counsel for the defendant to likely file pretrial motions regarding various evidentiary issues, challenges to the grand jury, and possible motions for suppression of evidence. Challenges to the grand jury is interesting. Those don't often go anywhere. But they might want to challenge the grand jury indictment and look at having the grand jury indictment thrown out. Is that rare and unlikely? Yes. Could they still make a motion to do it? Yes. I've heard commentators that practice in Idaho opine that perhaps that's why the defendant in this case stood silent, that seemed to be Ann Taylor's preference when there was a grand jury indictment, was to not plead guilty or not guilty, to not respond at all, to stand silent and then potentially challenge the grand jury. Also, there was a lot of speculation amongst the talking heads. I realize I am one of them, but amongst the talking heads on TV, that perhaps it is because they want Bryan Kohberger, or they might want to avail themselves of a defense, or of some of the, whether or not he is, excuse me, has the capacity to stand trial. And you don't necessarily want to enter a plea if you're going to introduce a capacity issue or a competence issue. I would be surprised if that came up in this case based on everything we've seen. I can't imagine. I mean, anything can happen in court, right? We're in front of judge, and we've seen wild things happen in court, but it would surprise me greatly if we saw any motions regarding defendant's competency. Renee in the chat said, Emily, Pennsylvania also uses the term enlarged time in regard to extensions of time. Never made sense to me. Can we go with like old men made these rules? Maybe they thought it was funny. Who wrote these? And why did enlarged time seem to be good? I'm going to cough. I am now making myself cough. Okay, sorry, y'all. Dolly in the chat has the right idea. Dolly said, motion to enlarge my bank account. Same. Motion to enlarge my bank account. Okay. Woo. Let us breathe. All right. So, speculation from yesterday that the standing silent might go to the fact that Ann Taylor is planning to challenge the grand jury, which will probably happen. It could be that they might raise competency issues down the road. Fine. It might be that that's this defense attorney's preference. Fine. It might be that, I saw Peter Tragos. Sorry, Peter, I apologize. Lawyer, Peter with the good hair. I saw Peter commenting that it could be that they are very mindful of the media. And I thought Peter made an excellent point. I think he was talking about this on WFLA, that Peter was saying, look, maybe it's just that they're very cognizant of the internet in this case, and they don't want everyone picking apart the way in which he said not guilty. He said yes, kind of forcefully, but maybe the way that they didn't want to be like, he didn't say not guilty fast enough. He said it with too much force, not enough force. He was meek. He wasn't meek. Maybe just didn't want to give the media anything, and they were allowed to stand silent. So they did. So we'll see what happens with that. But we do see an indication that Ann Taylor is at least contemplating challenges to the grand jury and motions to suppress evidence. I imagine we will see all of those things as this case gets closer to trial on October 2nd. I have thoughts about that too. Counsel makes this request for enlargement of time. The defendant will be subject to prejudice, harmful error, inadequate defense without the opportunity to review the motions. Do you know what the court did? The court signed it immediately. Cause okay. Because why not? There's no reason not to. The defense is not, let's be clear, the defense is not asking to waive time. The defense is asking for an extension. The court is asking for more time to file their pretrial motions to give them adequate time to prepare for those pretrial motions. And the court signed this immediately. It's hereby ordered that defense counsel has 30 days from the receipt of the grand jury materials to file any pretrial motions in the above entitled matter. So from the time you receive it, you get 30 days. Fine. There's nothing unusual about that at all. This defense has not asked for much time in anything. So 30 days to cover a grand jury is not weird given how much other discovery they have in this case. Here's my thoughts on the grand jury. I've been thinking about this since the grand jury and why now? And we've seen the attorney for the Gonsalves family saying, we haven't moved quickly enough in this case. We've seen the Gonsalves family put out a statement on social media yesterday, or give it to media who put it on social media yesterday, that they want this to move faster. Let's talk about that. So I have thoughts. The defense in this case waived time for preliminary hearing. Normally, you would have a preliminary hearing fairly quickly. In a case, you're definitely not going out months and months and months. So from the time of the arrest to the time that the preliminary hearing was set in June was 6 months. That is a waiver of time. You can waive time twice in a case as a defendant. Your statutory, constitutional right to a speedy trial, you can waive twice. Once at preliminary hearing. So if you waive time for preliminary hearing, it doesn't mean you also waive time for trial. Those are two different clocks. Not like the chess clocks, but kind of like the chess clocks. They're two different clocks and they run different times. Maybe it's a good analogy. I'll decide later. Y'all can let me know. It might suck, but they're two different clocks. So if you waive time for preliminary hearing, it's different. After the preliminary hearing, then the clock starts for trial, your speedy trial, right? In Idaho, you have 6 months after the prelim. So in this case, I have to wonder if the prosecution always thought that they might do a grand jury, whether to protect the surviving witnesses, to not give the defense a heads up on exactly what they were going to do, to not give the defense the opportunity to cross-examine, just to keep this out of the public eye and not have it be publicly preliminary hearing to where it's recorded, to protect the case, to protect the information in the case, or just to maybe let the, media interest in the case die down. That's not happening. And I think the secrecy actually ramps it up. My thoughts. So I needed hand lotion. That's why I keep it on my desk. So I'm wondering if they always knew they were going to grand jury it and let the defense waive time for the prelim so they had more time to prepare because they anticipated the defense was not going to waive time for trial. So they used 6 months, I think. Speculation. I should have made that louder. Speculation bells. They may have used the 6 months waived time to prepare for trial, believing that the defendant would not waive time for trial. And then when they grand jury the defendant, that trial clock tick-tock. Tick-tock. So if they had grand juried this 3 months ago, they lose 3 months of time to prep. The defendant's speedy right to trial is generally a detriment to the prosecution. The faster the prosecution has to go to trial, sometimes the less organized the trial is. We saw some of this in Murdaugh. Murdaugh didn't waive time for trial. We saw evidence coming in during trial that they hadn't gotten yet with more time they might have. The feds do this all the time. The feds have plenty of resources to monitor you and make sure you're not leaving your house. They work up their entire case before they get an indictment, generally. If they're worried someone's going to bounce the country, that might shift. But they generally work up their entire case before they indict it. So they're ready for trial. Lawyer, we were just talking about you and how great your hair is, amongst other things. Wait, are you watching Vanderpump? Wait, Peter. We need to talk. It's good to see you. So I'm wondering if the prosecution, thinking that they were going to not waive time for trial, which is always difficult for the prosecution, might have just used that 6 months to prep for trial and knew they were always going to take this case to an indictment. But they used the time to really be ready for trial because this defendant might not waive time. The defense attorney's got 51 terabytes of data. I think once the defense gets the information from the grand jury, we will maybe see a decision. That decision's also going to hinder on whether or not the state is seeking the death penalty. They have 60 days to decide that. But the state might have been using the time so that if the defendant didn't waive, they were more prepared for trial. The defense waived 6 months for prelim. The prosecution's allowed to use that time any way they want. And I wonder if that's why we saw this indictment coming so close to the end of that 6-month time waiver for prelim. If they thought that the interest in this case was going to die down, everyone is wrong. The interest in this case is going nowhere, and the more secretive the case is, I think the more interest there is, because now it's like, what are you hiding? What do you not want us to see? We want to know. I don't think the internet's curiosity is going away anytime soon. What could happen from here? Well, the prosecution will have to tell the defense within the next 60 days if they're going to or not going to seek the death penalty. Keep in mind that can change. They can take that off the table later. That can be negotiated for if they want to plea this case. I don't know if they will, but if they really want to keep it out of the public eye, they could take the death penalty off the case and let the defendant plead to life without parole. Those conversations might be ongoing. The defendant can waive time if they go through the grand jury indictment and they look at the evidence and they really have more they need to do. They can say, look, we're just not ready. They get to choose to waive time. It's the defendant's right to speedy trial. If they come in and waive time, then this trial can get bumped another 6 months, another year. I saw a lot of commentary as I was waiting. I was watching the Court TV show as I was waiting, and Chanley Painter was outside of court talking to people who thought that it was cruel that the trial date was set so close to the anniversary date of these killings, and it's generally not even thought of by the court when they're looking at it. They're looking at today is the day of the arraignment. When is 6 months from now that the court has time to do a 6-week trial? That's all that they're looking at. Okay, we have time to do a 6-week trial at the beginning of October. That works for everybody. Great. They're not even thinking about it. It just is the way it is in a criminal case. They waived 6 months for prelim. You have 6 months to do the trial. That's going to land you right around the 1-year date of a case, because that's right around the 1-year date of a case. So I understand it feels ick, but it really isn't intentional in any way. And the fact that this kind of case would go forward inside of a year is quite a lot. It's quite fast. We saw that in the Brooks trial, right? In Waukesha, that jury came back right before the anniversary of the massacre. And that's hard, but it went so fast. Like a year for that case is so fast. And that was a really organized case. That prosecution team was really, really good and very, very organized, and really mindful of the defendant's rights. So could this go to trial in October? Yes. Could this case plea? Yes. Could the defendant waive time? Yes. Could a myriad of other things also happen? Yes, but those are the top 3. It's unusual that a case goes to trial on its first setting date. It happens. It happened in Murdaugh. It happens, but it's unusual. Though I really want to go to BravoCon at the end of October, beginning of November, and somehow I think in the universe that makes more sense that it would just go to trial in October and last for like 8 weeks. I don't want that to happen. It's not about me, but we'll see. And when it goes to trial, I'll cover it. If it goes to trial, I'll cover it. It could plea. I don't know. What I'm most interested to see is what the court does with this gag order. And after that judge spoke yesterday, he is disinclined, really, to lift that gag order. This judge might modify it because the gag order got extended. If he modifies it, I think it'll go back to the original version of the gag order. I don't think this judge is lifting the gag order. Do not hold out hope that this gag order is going to go away. It's not going to go away. I from what the judge was saying, I don't see this gag order going away. This judge seemed sus of the media and really reminded the media that irreparable harm goes both ways. I didn't realize that there had been a dateline that had just been released when the court held that hearing, but it seemed that the court was well aware. I was not. I took the weekend off. I watched Vanderpump. I hung out with my husband. I cleaned my house because, well, up until this weekend, my guest room was full of stuff and people can't sleep in my guest room if the guest room is full of stuff. The guest room is now an oasis of delight, but it was full of boxes. So that took a lot of executive functioning tasks. So that's basically all I did this weekend. I only had like 2 temper tantrums. My husband is like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I am not." This is more executive functioning than I ever want to do, and I hate it. He's like, "We'll get through it. We'll get through it." And he would walk away and come back and be like, "You haven't done anything." I'm like, "When I said I needed your help, I need you to physically be here helping." He's like, "But you're doing this task." I'm like, No. You have to body double. You have to stay. You cannot leave. You are my support human. Do not leave." So my guest room, yes, will be an actual guest room. I'm excited. It's glorious. So normally I like organizing, but I need to do it in my own like waves of inspiration, right? So we got it. All right. We've enlarged our guest room. You need to help. My poor hubby is just like, "Oh, the ADHD in this house is so strong." I'm like, "It is. I needed you as my support person. Do not leave. Do not leave." So I did not see the Dateline. I will probably watch it this evening. I'm very curious because with the gag order, I'm very curious as to who spoke and how and why and what have you. So I'm interested, but I think the court is mindful of that. And the court came off as snappy. The court came off a little snappy. Not snappy. That's not right. Stern, conscientious, cognizant. I think the court thought that the language being used by the media was overdone, that this is irreparable harm. The court, to me, this is my summation of the court. The court was like, "Cry me a river for your clicks and views." Because the media can do more harm in this case than good. So I don't want to hear it. The defendant has a right. I'm protecting the defendant's rights. Yes, you also have a right. Your rights don't supersede this right. Spicy. Spicy's a good word. And he's like, "So really cry for me. Cry me a river." He really did. It's like, I don't want to hear about your clicks and views. And I get it. I would rather have this case be protected so that if there is a conviction, it's done and this community can heal and move on. But with things just kind of dripping out and leaks, you can't confirm or deny things. I think that can hurt the defendant more, and that's a conversation that needs to be had. But then the court said something that stunned me yesterday. The court said, "And we're going to talk about cameras." I'm like, I thought this was settled. It's not settled. It's not settled. It's not settled. And so it seems that there's going to be another discussion about cameras. If this case goes to trial, it is very likely that the full day of trial will be released at like 7 p.m. Do you remember how long those days of Depp v. Heard were? Can you imagine releasing them at 7 p.m.? I would probably just do them on a day delay. And just be like, "Court starts at 9. See you tomorrow." We'll start them every morning, one day back. But I can't imagine being up all night trying to cover it like that. It's wild. So we'll see. But these will be released late, and it will take them time, because on relay, it does take them time to get those things uploaded. So we'll see what happens as we get there. Here's what I plan on covering. Any more documents that come out, I will cover. Rumors, no. The June hearing, yes. And that's probably the next time we will check back in with the June hearing, because I really am curious about what's going to happen with this gag order. I think there's room for talk about what a free press is versus a defendant's rights. And I think those conversations are bigger than just this case. And I appreciate the media being like, hey, give us more access. I want to know too. But also I appreciate the court saying, the defendant has a right to a fair and impartial jury, and we are not going to let the media fuck with that. So with that, we will get to questions on Kohberger in a bit. We've got to talk about TikTok. You don't stop just a little bit, and then we'll get to questions. Next week, I will probably cover some of the Zolciak divorce. I'm curious. Emily, do we love Dave's new album, or do we love Dave's new album? I do love Dave's new album. This is a question I will entertain before we do anything. What did I want to say? I got it on vinyl, so I've been listening to it on the record player. I love it. I also, when I get a new album, This Might Be You, I'm going to talk about music a lot today, because it's music week. It's the beginning of summer. It's time for festivals and music outside and dancing. It's time for something lighter. And the first thing I do to listen to an album for me is to listen in the car. Some people want to hear it on speakers. Some people want to hear it on headphones. I want to hear it in the car. And I want to hear After Everything live. After Everything is like live. And I've heard Walk Around the Moon live last summer. I've heard Mad Men's Eyes live last summer. I really enjoy it live. I heard Looking for a Vein last summer. I heard Ocean of the Butterfly last summer. So I am ready. I don't want to hear Something to Tell My Baby live. It'll probably make me cry the same way that Sister and a few other songs do. There are a few that, like, the second you get 3 bars in and I have tears streaming down my face. I have a lot of concerts this summer, but for this week, I would like to dance. I do not want to cry. I do not need Bartender or Grace Is Gone or Sister. Please give me Sledgehammer with all of the, like, Dave dancing. That is the mood. That is the vibe. So I want to hear that. Break Free would be great. But After Everything is really what I'm looking forward to live that I have not heard yet. Live. So, but I have to, like, car first, then headphones for me. All right. I love seeing how you guys listen to your music first. Like, headphones first. Who was saying I am laying in my bed in the dark? I get it. Sometimes that's just what you need. You need to focus. You need to actually feel it in your soul. Just all the things. Griffin T said, Dave is going to make you cry whether you like it or not. That's a very real possibility. It's a very real possibility. But the thing is, after this, Dave, this is the first time I get to go see Dave and then go to Broadway. And I'm excited. I have not been to Broadway much. I moved to Nashville during a pandemic. There was not much going out. I am excited to go out in Nashville after a concert. It seems like the best idea ever. I might have no voice next week when I stream, but it seems like the best idea ever, and I am ready for it. I'm excited. The only other time I saw Dave here was at a festival that was in Franklin. It wasn't downtown, so I'm definitely not going from festival to, I was going from festival to bed, not festival to Broadway. But when we're already downtown, we're going to walk right out of the Bridgestone Center and right downtown. Real excited about it. Yep. Real excited. All right. So, should we talk about TikTok? I know some of y'all don't like Dave. I get it. And that's fine. I'm old. I'm a 90s bitch. I am. I've loved Dave since I was in high school because it's the mid 90s. When I went to college, the best thing about going to college, there were a lot of things I loved about Massachusetts, but the day I moved into my dorm, my giant ass dorm, because I was in the towers at UMass, the day I moved into my dorm floor had different Dave music playing out of just about everybody's room because it was the 90s. And I was like, I am home, my people. And then I saw Dave live at the Mullins Center, and it made my life. It made my life. That live concert. And I was like, I will never miss a live summer tour again. And I didn't, even when pregnant, unless they didn't tour. That was the only time I missed it. So it was really fun. It was part of growing up during that time. So for those of you in the chat that are like, I was born in 1995, it was not your time, but this was part of growing up and going to college in the mid 90s. Is that Dave Matthews? Do people still do this? I don't know. Do people still make mixtapes of their booty songs? Maybe. But these albums factored heavily into most of that as well. Dave, it's the makeout music. Dave, it's what boys learned to play on guitar so they could try to impress you. They're like, I can play Crash Into Me. And you're like, just play guitar for me. I love it. All of it. All of it. I guess it is just playlist now. Spotify playlist. It's not a burned CD anymore. I'm old. I'm old. And I love it. It's great. I'm experienced. I'm wise. Wizened. Let's talk about TikTok. Speaking of influence on music, TikTok has a substantial influence on music, doesn't it? We're gonna do a run through of what's going on with TikTok. Have you guys been listening to this? Oh my God, LimeWire. Tammy's clips. RIP my computers that caught viruses from LimeWire. RIP. Let's talk about TikTok. You don't stop. Here's what's going on. Montana and TikTok are going toe to toe. We're going to do an overview today and then get to some questions. If you want to deep dive on these lawsuits, you have to let me know in the chat that you're interested in a deep dive in these lawsuits. Here's why I'm interested. The federal government tried to do this a number of years back, and it did not make it. So it seems like the states have carried that torch now of we're going to go state by state and ban TikTok. So Montana, on May 17th, the governor of Montana signed a state bill to ban TikTok. So I'm going to give you the overview. This is coming from Law 360. Let's go ahead and pull this up. Let's Montana Governor Greg Gianforte. God, I'm going to do that badly. Montana Governor Greg on Wednesday signed a first of its kind law banning TikTok from operating in the state, a move that the popular video app was quick to condemn as unlawful. They said that the Chinese Communist Party is using TikTok to spy on Americans, violate their privacy, and collect their personal, private, and sensitive information is well documented, Greg said. Today, Montana takes the most decisive action of any state to protect Montana's private data, or Montanans' private data and sensitive personal information from being harvested by the Chinese Communist Party. But TikTok swiftly fired back, saying that the law infringes the First Amendment. Oh, it might. By unlawfully banning the platform. TikTok said, we want to reassure Montanans that they can continue to use TikTok to express themselves, earn a living, and find a community as we continue working to defend the rights of our users inside and outside of Montana. Montana has now sued. For those of you asking, how would they enforce it? This is how. The legislation bans Apple's App Store and Google's Play Store and other mobile app stores from offering Montana users the option to download TikTok, according to the text of the bill. And while entities that violate this prohibition could face hefty fines, the bill states that such penalties will not apply to TikTok users. This is largely symbolic. I think it's probably illegal, but if you're in Montana and you drove across state lines and downloaded TikTok and then drove back in, there's nothing they could do about it. If you've already downloaded TikTok, you don't have to get rid of it, but then updating the app becomes an issue. So now if you're in Montana and the App Store and the Google Play Store don't support your app, but you already have the app and the app needs security patches, you won't be able to security patch the app. So how is this the solution? Because doesn't that just make the app less safe? Yes, you could also use a VPN. Facts. Also, Here's why I'm interested in this. Not because I think that Montana's actually going to have TikTok like banned forever, but because the fight that is brewing in court might, thinking out loud, might go a long way to push forward conversations about whether social media apps are town square free speech kind of platforms, whether or not social media apps have now crossed over into being a town square where the government banning a social media app is essentially banning speech. And that is a very interesting legal question, because if we get to the fact that social media apps are in fact a town square and they are not then a um, private company, even though they are private companies, you start to get into the realm where you can reevaluate Section 230 and start to reevaluate some of the free speech protections on social media. And so how TikTok gets treated by the courts might be very instructive going forward. If we start seeing these things as utilities in town squares, then Section 230 is going to start to shift and change, even though the Supreme Court didn't take it up the last time they had the opportunity to take it up. They punted on it, really. But this matters. How we talk about a social media app matters. Where is the government's right to say it's for your own protection? It's for your own good. Where is the government allowed to infringe on people's constitutional rights when they think it's for their own good? And where is the boundary of that? At the risk, these are conversations that I think go beyond political party, or at least should, because we should be having these conversations about where the limits are and where the boundaries of, hey, users, we think TikTok, the governor of Montana could say this, we think TikTok is stealing your private data this way. So make good choices. Or is it truly a security issue where the government can ban it off of civilian phones, not work phones, not company computers? A lot of companies have banned it off of all of their company thing. But it concerns me when the government's like, we know what's best for you. Sir, I have questions. And I think that conversation can be had across party lines more easily when it comes to technology than when it comes to other things. But I don't know if we're having those conversations yet, but we need to have these conversations. Where are the boundaries of we're banning it for your own good versus we're going to tell you what's going on, tell us what's going on? And this, where are the bounds of it's a national security risk versus the First Amendment and the Constitution? And that's why I'm watching this. If you haven't gathered, I am one that generally doesn't like to be told what to do. So here is where I'm like, I understand the concern. I don't have TikTok on my phone personally. My kids don't have TikTok on their phones. Did I maybe get a separate device to use TikTok on that device because TikTok is still kind of fun? Yes, I did. I know those of you comparing it to prohibition, we should definitely talk about it in those realms. It's for your own good. Yeah, because nothing springs up in its place when you try to ban it. I've seen companies ban it off of company networks, computers. I understand all of that. The government can say you can't have this on your work phone. Fine. Should you be on TikTok at work? Not unless it's your job. Probably not. So fine. Look, there used to be a time when you couldn't walk into a government office with a cell phone that had a camera on it. So I understand those things. But when we get to an entire state saying what you can't do in our state is use TikTok, then we have a very real conversation about rights and security. And I think we should have those. I think we should have those conversations. And I think we should start having those conversations about when is it too far, instead of yes, we must protect the data, the children, the whatever. Can we have real conversations and not hyperbole? That's what I would like. So let's have a real conversation about this. Tell me what you know that freaks you out so much about TikTok, but nobody does. They're just like, the CCP is spying on Americans. What do you know? Tell people and let them decide. Because I've read enough. I've gone through enough. I've gone through all of this, and I've been like, I'm not putting that on my phone. But also, look, y'all, is it hypocrisy for me? Maybe, because I still have Instagram on my phone. I don't have Facebook on my phone anymore, but I still have Instagram on my phone. And I'm not sure that Instagram doesn't take as much data as TikTok does. I don't think it keystroke tracks the way that TikTok does, which scares the shit out of me. But I don't keep Facebook on my phone. But I also know that Facebook is looking at my phone in proximity to other phones and is like, hey, you're in proximity to this person. So now you know who my neighbors are because you're tracking my phone in proximity to other phones. That shit freaks me out. Sure does. So, and I don't understand always how they're using it. So I took Facebook. You could probably control a lot of it in your settings. I took it off my phone. I don't always know that the settings work how it works. I keep YouTube on my phone. So is it hypocrisy? Maybe. Might be. Might totally be. Might be like Emily. Once you have one of them on your phone, you have the others. I know that Instagram is Meta, but it didn't track the same way Facebook did. But I still have it on my phone. Why? Because that's how I use it. So how far am I willing to go to inconvenience myself? I don't know. So I have concerns. I think it's a great place to have a conversation. And I think it's around social media is a conversation that we need to continue to have. And I love that the law nerds allow us to have this conversation about this thing. Yes, there are bigger problems in the world. Yes, there are bigger problems with our politicians. But we can have a conversation about government overreach, First Amendment, and our rights with regard to social media, because this is going to touch on national security, your own individual rights, free speech, tech, what tech can track. It kind of brings it all into one place where we can talk about it. How much should the government tell us? How much should we know? How concerned are they? How concerned should we be? I don't know. Do I worry that things that like 12-year-olds are doing on TikTok will be used against them years down the road when they decide to run for office? Yes, I do worry about that. But I worry about blackmailing politicians in other ways too. So it's not unique to social media. It's not new. Blackmailing people's not new. Bribing people's not new. None of that's new. It's just different. And we need to understand how it's different and how it's being used as much as we can, I think. So I'm curious and I want to know more. Also, TikTok's algorithm, of all the algorithms, and I have done a lot of things with algorithms on the YouTubes, the Instas, not so much the Facebooks, and the TikToks. Look, man, the TikToks is the best algorithm. Carrie B says, you're tracked by your phone everywhere you go. Yes, because, well, there are some things I'm happy to share because if anything ever happens to me, I want you to be able to reconstruct it using my phone. Is that weird? Is that weird? Every single case I go through, I'm like, I want you to be able to find me. Track my location. If I don't have my phone on me, something is wrong. So I'm curious. I'm going to continue to be curious. I'm going to continue to ask questions. Let's keep talking about TikTok. Or at least what the state of Montana is saying about TikTok. The bill sponsored by Senator Shelley Vance asserts that TikTok gathers significant information on its users. That's true. Did you know that TikTok can see where your eyes are on the screen? And how long you stay on that screen? Book talk, beware. They're looking at where you're looking on the screen. Everybody who went down the rabbit hole of the unholy sound clip, they know what you're looking at. Yes, I follow Bradley Thorne too. I know. Thorne Bradley. It's Thorne, right? Thorne is the first name. Chopping wood. He chops wood. He's got tattoos. I need to learn how to chop wood. Look, man, if the apocalypse is upon us, I need to know how to chop wood. It's research. It's research. It's research. I promise it's research. I'm preparing. I'm preparing. I need to be prepared. Truly. So the algorithm on TikTok is scary good, but I've seen these allegations again and again and again. All right. TikTok gathers significant information on its users, accessing data against their will to share with the PRC. It states that the app doesn't remove, quote, and may even promote dangerous content such as cooking chicken and NyQuil. I mean, is that dangerous or is it just disgusting? I guess it depends on how much NyQuil it is. Pouring hot wax on a user's face. I mean, I guess context matters there because sometimes that's how you get the hair off of the face. I prefer threading at this point. I have lost layers of skin due to hot wax on my face, but I mean, pouring it seems bad. Placing metal objects in electrical outlets. Y'all, where are your parents? At some point, we learn young not to place metal objects in electrical outlets, and stealing utilities from public places. Montana's law comes after reports surfaced that the Committee on Foreign Investment in the U.S. Has been investigating potential threats to national security posed by TikTok for more than 2 years, is threatening to ban the platform from operating in the U.S. unless Chinese-based ByteDance sells their share of the company. That's been going on for years. FBI officials have argued that the Chinese government could weaponize access to TikTok to carry out influence operations by controlling content suggested to users, while Congress passed a bill in December blocking TikTok from use on government devices. We know that, and that's been going on. That has been ongoing. So that's the bill. What comes next? Well, next, TikTok users sue Montana. TikTok users argue that the Montana Attorney General that this law is unconstitutional. Sorry, my brain just stopped mid-sentence. It was a terrible sentence. Apologies. Users in Montana have sued the state, arguing that the law is unconstitutional and is an attempt to exercise powers over national security that Montana does not have. So they filed in court on May 17th. We're not going through all 44 pages of this, but some. So this is plaintiffs versus the Attorney General of the state of Montana, because when you sue a state, who is the state of Montana? Are you the state of Montana? Darrell Brooks would lose his mind. They're suing the state of Montana. Who is the state? Who is the state? In this lawsuit, it's the Attorney General. Is that lawful law? Yes. Complaint for injunctive and declaratory relief. So they're asking the court to decide something. They're not necessarily asking for money. Preliminary statement. Plaintiffs, creators, and viewers of content on TikTok, give them back their book talk. Send it to Darrell. Yeah. Other Darrell, Lacey. Other Darrell. Plaintiffs, creators, and viewers of content on TikTok bring this lawsuit to challenge an act banning TikTok in Montana. Is that the name of the act? An act banning TikTok in Montana.
It is an act banning TikTok in Montana.
The act attempts to exercise powers over national security that Montana does not have. I mean, Montana is Montana. And to ban speech that Montana may not suppress, because the First Amendment, by shuttering an entire forum for communication that defendant Montana himself admitted is one of the best ways to get your free speech out there. Footnote 1, oh boy. The law creates a prior restraint on expression that violates the First Amendment. I don't know how they get around it. No, I love book talk. It's why I keep talking about book talk. Don't feel attacked. I love it. I'd be pissed. I'd be mad if they're like, we're getting rid of it. It'd be bad. What did the Attorney General say? Transcript of March 28th, Montana House Judiciary Committee hearing about this. The Attorney General said it's one of the best ways to get your free speech out there, and then they went and banned it? Great. Fantastic. Fantastic. This is depriving Montanans access to a form for what for many is a principal source for knowing current events. Well, look, there are great accounts on TikTok that keep you up to date with current events. Just, know who you're following. That's all I'm saying. And otherwise exploring the vast realms of human thought and knowledge. This is from a 2017 case. Montana's claimed interest in SB 419 are not legitimate and do not support a blanket ban on TikTok. Montana has no authority to enact laws advancing what it believes should be the United States foreign policy. That's true. Or its national security interest. Also true, because they said national security interest. They did not say Montana was under threat. Montana could no more ban its residents from viewing or posting on TikTok than it could ban Wall Street Journal because of who owns it or what it decides to publish. Interesting they picked the Wall Street Journal. Even if Montana could regulate any of the speech that users share through TikTok, SB 419 wields a sledgehammer. Sledge. I kick the habit. Shed my skin. Damn it. I've listened to Sledgehammer all morning. You cannot trigger my song lyrics in that way. Okay. SB 419, it all comes back around. SB 419 wields a sledgehammer when the First Amendment requires a scalpel. Least restrictive methods, because this is a prior restraint on speech. SB 419 is unconstitutional and preempted by federal law. Let's see what they're asking for. Factual allegations. What is TikTok? What is law? What is lawful law? For example, a college student in Missoula found that TikTok helped her, quote, connect with other students at her university and people across the country, finding not just one community, but many. Footnote 10. Greg must veto TikTok ban and support Montana students from the Missoulan. She further noted the app was crucial to expanding worldviews and acts as a tool for diversity and inclusion. Plaintiffs have strengthened their own communities through TikTok. Plaintiff DeRocco, for example, uses the app to connect with other veterans and share information about mental health and suicide prevention. When Miss Goodard moved across the country from Florida to Montana, she used TikTok to meet other young mothers and form friendships with those her own age. Mr. Stout has created a strong community on TikTok who sometimes support each other financially, for example, paying one member's electrical bills when she was out of work. In addition, the plaintiff's other TikTok, quote, users have built their livelihoods and found a sense of community on the app. They say they can't imagine an America without it. Footnote 11. One creator put it, TikTok is way more than just dancing videos or lip syncing videos. It is so many different niches. You can find a community in any of them. So if it were to go away, it would be a great loss. Footnote 12. So they talk about the way that TikTok positively impacts individuals. What's the state of Montana going to do? Respond with, here's how it negatively impacts people. Look, we're going to have to go through the, I scratched myself and we're going to be red forever. I need to go back through the lawsuit from the TikTok moderators who are suing over the trauma that they have experienced from trying to moderate the horrific shit that they catch that doesn't get up onto TikTok. We need a whole TikTok centric episode, because I need to get back and cover that. That is still going through the court system. Let's see. This is going through all the good that they love for TikTok. Courts have blocked previous attempts to ban TikTok. I wonder if they were going to bring this up, because this happened in the Ninth Circuit and a few others. Federal judges have 3 times enjoined attempts to ban TikTok, and they went through all of the attempted bans under former President Trump. Is the Ninth Circuit one in here? That's not it. That's not it. I don't see the Ninth Circuit one in here, but it has been blocked as a prior restraint on free speech by other federal courts. Since these decisions, the federal government has not banned TikTok. Instead, Efforts to address the federal government's claimed national security concerns have included less sweeping measures, such as rules prohibiting TikTok from government devices and proposals to require TikTok to store data for United States operations within the United States. Least restrictive means. TikTok has also reported taking a number of measures to provide additional security and protections for its American users' data. If this is what it's going to take for the US to take data security seriously, I would love it. But here's what I worry. This is a worry. I worry that they're not really worried about our privacy data, that they're worried about who other than them might have it. I'm not thinking that the US is trying to protect all of our privacy and security. I think they're trying to protect it all from outside interest or foreign interest. I think they still want to be able to get to our info. That. Shanna, you and I were thinking the same thing at the same time. I'm worried that it isn't about privacy. It's who else has our info. Yeah, it's not about the US government having access to this. They want to still do that. So this isn't, I wish this was the hearkening in of taking data security seriously and doing more to protect the privacy of individuals on, using apps on the interwebs. I worry. But I think having a conversation about it is maybe helpful. If I can just voice my I'm going to keep an eye on this one. TikTok is also reportedly taking a number of measures to provide additional security. TikTok reports to date it's spent about $1.5 billion implementing Project T. Why is it called Project T? Under which protected U.S. user data will be monitored and tightly controlled by a subsidiary that reports to an independent board. TikTok has also reported its plan to implement third-party monitoring of content to ensure it's free from any potential foreign outside influence. Who's monitoring? And who's monitoring the monitors? These layers of review and oversight are unprecedented in the technology industry. I'm sorry, I don't want to be conspiratorial. Is it that the US government can haul in the heads of Facebook, Twitter, Instagram? They can drag them into Congress, ask them questions. They have authority over them. They can take 230 away from them. There seems to be a stick and a carrot situation with US-based businesses where they feel that they can in some way control them. And we've seen that some in the Twitter files about the influence that the US government has had over social media, killing stories, promoting stories, things like that. Things that have nothing to do with foreign interest or impact in the US. So is it just that they don't have control over TikTok? They're not as easily able to drag them in. They don't have a, backdoor email address where they can be like, hey, can you kill this story? It seems that maybe part of the concern here is that the government doesn't have control. Perhaps. It's a thought. It's a concern. Because I don't think they have a ton of control over what TikTok does. So, and TikTok doesn't seem inclined to acquiesce to their requests. Other tech platforms have been inclined to acquiesce to the government's request. Other tech platforms have played nice, have donated money, have allowed the government access to their platforms. TikTok doesn't. So I have questions about that too. Is that why the hammer's coming down on TikTok? Is that why the sledgehammer's here? I wonder how much money TikTok has donated to political parties. I at the end of the day, I don't think it's all about us and our safety. That's all. Montana bans TikTok Enacted despite testimony from individuals recounting the harm to ordinary Montanans like plaintiffs, the law bans TikTok from operating in Montana and prohibits mobile app stores in the state from offering TikTok to Montana users. Are we going to have to talk about Utah and porn? We might. Because states are trying to block stuff like this in their own state in interesting ways. Block access to certain websites. Violation of this prohibition, from which users themselves are exempt, is punishable by a $10,000 fine for each violation and an additional $10,000 for each day after the violation continues. So what are they asking the court for? Let's zoom. If we need to do a deep dive, tell me. Legal principles. So they're going into prior restraints on the First Amendment using the Nebraska Press Association versus Stewart and, Bantam Books versus Sullivan, New York Times versus United States. All the prior restraints cases, if you've been in law school, revisit your prior restraints cases. That's what they're talking about. The Commerce Clause. What else? I just want to see how they're framing. This is a long complaint. How they're framing their claims for relief. Claim 1, violation of the First and 14th Amendments. Claim 2, violation of due process. Claim 3, violation of foreign affairs doctrine, because you're Montana, not the feds. Violation of the Commerce Clause. This is like a law school exam. Local laws. IPA, I guess. Let's see. Claim 6, Section 720 of the Defense Production Act preemption. Interesting. Prayer for relief. Declare that the act is invalid because it violates the First Amendment and due process rights. Declare the act is entirely preempted by Executive Orders 13-873, 14-034, Section 721 of the Defense Production Act, and EPA. Preliminary and permanently enjoin defendant and his agents and employees from acting. Enter judgment in favor of plaintiffs. Award plaintiffs cost and attorney's fees. So not only have users sued TikTok, but the state of, TikTok itself has sued the state of Montana. So TikTok also sued. It's, I imagine, going to be somewhat similar. And we will do a deep dive on this another time. But complaint for declaratory and injunctive relief, TikTok versus, the Attorney General of the state of Montana, because he's suing the state on the grounds, I imagine, that this also violates the First Amendment. This action seeks to prevent the state of Montana from unlawfully banning TikTok, a short-form video sharing platform that empowers hundreds of thousands of users in Montana to communicate and express themselves primarily through creating, sharing, and interacting with short-form videos on topics quote, as diverse as human thought, Reno versus ACLU. Montana's ban abridges freedom of speech in violation of the First Amendment, violates the U.S. Constitution in multiple other respects, and is preempted by federal law. So the same, basically, is what you can't do. And I don't know how they thought that this wouldn't violate the First Amendment, and I'm interested to see how the court yeets this, because I don't see how this can stand and how this isn't a preemption on speech. I just don't know how this is not. I just don't understand how this is going to fly. I don't think that it can. So how the court tailors that ruling will be interested. Oh, y'all, we binged. Where are we at? 723. Rolling towards 725. We're rolling. Somehow 725 feels big. We binged. Y'all, let's just take a minute. Let's just take a minute. Because it binged. New law nerds. The chat will explain. Oh, it binged! Move your head! Ah! So, y'all, thanks. We binged. Look at us. Doing the YouTube-y things over here. Factual allegations. TikTok is a popular and important platform for users to communicate with each other through a wide range of expression and creative content. They're going to define all the same things as last time. I want to see what their causes of action are, and then we're going to zoom to questions because A, we've been streaming for an hour and a half. B, I'm also streaming tomorrow. And C, if we need a deep dive, we need an entire TikTok day. And I will summarize these instead of going through them. But I don't know. This is basically bringing up the same arguments as the other ones. Encroachment of federal powers preempted by federal law. A state can't do something for national security. That the enforcement would cause irreparable harm. That this is a prior restraint on free speech. That this is, essentially government overreaching. Claims for relief. Count 1. The TikTok ban violates the First Amendment. You can't ban speech, but banning speech with a private company. It'll be interesting to see how the court parses what TikTok is. I think it's a speech platform. I think there's a strong argument legally for that. Let's see. Count 2, TikTok ban is preempted by federal law, same as in the other lawsuit. We're going to, I imagine, see these make very similar arguments because they're on the same side of it. The TikTok ban violates the Commerce Clause, disrupts the Constitution's structural distribution of authority between the federal and state governments. Yeah, states don't get to deal with national security. They get to deal with their own security. Can you imagine California being like, let me tell you what to do, Montana? That's not how that works. The TikTok ban is an unconstitutional bill of attainder. Interesting. Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution provides that no state shall pass any bill of attainder. A bill of attainder is a legislative punishment of any form or severity of specifically designed persons or groups. By singling out TikTok for legislative punishment applicable to no other social media or entertainment platform, the TikTok ban is an unconstitutional bill of attainder. Interesting. I didn't even think of that. This is why you hire lawyers who specialize in this area of law to do the things. That's an interesting argument. This is going to be if you're going to be a 1L next year and taking constitutional law, I hope you get to talk about this. It is very real. It is very present. It will be very interesting intellectual discussion about what is social media, what is speech in the digital age. What is this an unlawful bill of attainder? Oh my God. Constitutional law professors are like, yes, yes. I'm ready to nerd. Although numerous companies, both foreign and domestic, operate social media platforms, communication services, and online entertainment platforms in Montana, the TikTok ban prohibits TikTok and only TikTok based on purported concerns about its data security practices. The TikTok ban singles out TikTok the TikTok application for this punishment, notwithstanding that the data allegedly collecting by this app is no different in kind than data collected from a number of other sources that is widely available in the data broker market. It's like, but you can just buy this info from fucking Facebook. So why though? Interesting. The TikTok ban's creation of liability each time a user in Montana accesses TikTok is offered the ability to access TikTok or is offered the ability to download TikTok constitutes unconstitutional legislative punishment. First, the TikTok ban inflicts pains and penalties that historically have been associated with bills of attainder. Among other things, the legislation banishes plaintiff from Montana and punitively confiscates plaintiff's business expectancy relating to ongoing operation of TikTok in the state. Further, the TikTok ban imposes those pains and penalties on plaintiff as a result of its perceived disloyalty to the United States. Wow. That is interesting. I can't wait to see what the court does with the bill of attainder argument. Let's continue on. Let's see. Request for relief. Injunctions. Issue declaratory judgment that the law is unconstitutional. They want the court to say, yo, this is unconstitutional. Yeet. Issue an order invalidating the TikTok ban and permanently enjoining them from doing it. It'll be interesting to see this fight its way out in Montana courts. And I think Montana will find itself with everyone who's watching the way that tech is being regulated with curiosity. I'm watching it with curiosity. I want to see how the courts think about these things, how they approach this, if they address the First Amendment arguments, how they address it. We are dealing with old problems in modern ways, and watching the courts take our hundreds of year old laws and our Constitution and try to apply it in new ways is always fascinating, but it will give us some guidance of what's going to happen going forward. and seeing if this bill ever actually gets implemented, if TikTok ever does come down from the App Store in Montana. Those of you in Montana, keep an eye. And if you're interested in TikTok, maybe download it now. This is going to be very, very interesting. It is how our government regulates tech and secures privacy and how the states manage that. Because California's passed kind of its own like GDPR that imposes safety and security and regulations on businesses that operate in California specifically. But they're doing it just with regard to California residents. So they're not saying this is a national security issue. They're saying this is a California security issue. And when California does stuff like that, we tend to see it roll out in other states as well. California is like, hey, we've got our own GDPR, you must adhere. So websites across the country are like, well, if we need to do this to adhere to California, that's the most restrictive. We'll just implement it on our website for everywhere. But the tech battles that are brewing here are interesting. And I think the bill of attainder argument of like, what about Instagram, Facebook, and others? Really interesting. So, do I have TikTok on my own personal phone? No. Do my kids have TikTok on their personal phone? No. Do I still engage with TikTok on another device? Yes. Do I want to see how this all happens? Yes. Do I know that my phone is tracking me anyway? Yes. Do I think there should be more transparency in what's being tracked and how? Yes. Do I like that Apple has done that? Like now you can see on Apple if your camera's been activated, if your microphone's been activated, it shows you a little green dot or a little orange dot, so you can see if apps are accessing things. I don't know if other operating systems do this, but it's giving you as a user more information to what apps are activating what apps are running in the background. It regularly is like, yo, bitch, why do you have so many weather apps running in the background? Do you know this app is running all the time? And I'm like, yes, I don't want to get rained on walking out of Target. What? Track me. Let me know. Give me hyper local weather. I need it. You never know. It's not raining at my house, but it might be raining at Target. I need to know these things. It's important. Middle Tennessee, it might rain just on you in one spot. That was not quite how California worked in Southern California. So iOS or different operating systems are giving you more information. And I think more information is good. And then we can make the decisions we're going to make. Some of you are like, I don't fucking care. Give me my TikTok. And that's fine. You get to make that decision for yourself. And I think you should, because you get to do it on your personal phone. Good. I think it's okay to ask that these things not be on work phones. Fine. I mean, don't ban YouTube from work phones. People need YouTube at work. It's like listening to the radio. It's just the modern day radio. But I get it. And I'm curious, and we're going to keep following it. I want to know, I'll get back to the moderator lawsuit and we'll do a whole like TikTok day when there isn't so much going on in other stuff, because there's been a lot going on. I have bumped now talking about the insurance case for Amber Heard like 6 times. So I need to get back to that, but it's not going to happen this week because there's a lot going on in the Petito laundry case and I can't look away. I need to know what happens tomorrow at the court hearing. I need to know. I need to know what happens. But you've got questions. I've got questions. We've got questions. Let's back around. Let's answer some questions. Law nerds, thank you for being here. Love you guys. You guys are the best. I have more questions than I have all of the questions about the TikTok stuff, and I want to hear your input. I want to know your thoughts. I want to know how you feel about it. I want to know how you feel about the government trying to regulate it. I have lots of thoughts about the government trying to regulate tech. I feel like they don't always understand. They're going to ask their staffers like, what's a talk or what's a tic-tac or whatever the fuck it is. I get that. And it always disconcerts me when people are trying to regulate a thing they don't understand. It'd be like me trying to make, I don't know, hospital policy or some shit. It's like, I don't know. How do you regulate something you don't understand? I have lots of questions and concerns, and I'm worried. And curious. Isn't it great we live in a country where we can talk about this? Yes, it is. I absolutely agree with you. And it's great we live in a country where we can talk about a real housewife getting divorced, talk about a quadruple homicide, and well, that's just the country of Emily's YouTube channel. We can talk about pop culture and serious cases all in one go. And that's fair. Allison said, I haven't used TikTok since the new US terms of service. I miss it though. And that's fair too. Watching Senate hearings on Facebook is painful. Yes, it was. But you saw how painfully how painfully unaware they were of technology. But this is a bigger problem that we have to talk about with government at some point is, look, if you look at let's go with like 38 to 50-year-old, a lot of the times they are kind of prime career time. Why would most of them want to then run for government? What is the benefit of getting involved in politics in the US? And I think it's why we see a lot of people just shying away. And then we have, those who are in government are older, and don't always understand technology and don't want to, because who would want to go through an election? You watch our elections, who would fucking want to do that? And the amount of money it takes. Also, you spend all the time raising money, all of the time raising money. And if you're spending all your time raising money, whose interests are you really serving? There's a lot of questions about how our government operates. I have all of them. But most people are like, miss me with that. I don't want to run for government. I don't want to run for office. I don't want to get put through what that looks like in a campaign. Like, no. And then the people who are inclined towards politics, well, a lot of them are also lawyers, and lawyers aren't inclined towards tech anyway. So I get it. I get how we get here. I don't know how we unwind it at all. I don't know how we unwind it. Because the people in charge of how much money is in politics are the people who are making money from politics. And that's a whole nother question. But in the US, it really just boils down to follow the money. So just follow the money. And that's where we're at. I am not meaning to rant today. My political party I have questions about all of you. That's where I'm at with all of this. I'm just like, I have questions. Please do sane things. Christy said, EDB, you need to try the Simple Modern cups. They've converted me from Stanley's, lighter weight, fit better in a car cup holder, and come in purple and pink and no spills. I now have them in multiples. I'm always here for a good cup recommendation. I love all of the drinking accoutrement. The Sneed wearer in the chat. It took me a while to parse the letters right, where I'm trying to pull this up. I identify a WTF as going on. A lot of us. A lot of us are like, what? I have questions. Please, y'all stop fighting for the sake of fighting. And commits in my political party is whoever seems more stable in the moment. Fair. Sunflowers and Sass, recuperating from a mastectomy reconstruction. I hope you recover well and heal quickly. Catching live EDB for a while wearing hearsay and not one stitch of other makeup keeps me from feeling completely gross. I rolled into both of my C-sections and all of my other surgeries, because I have had lots of surgeries, with lip gloss and nothing else. It always made me feel better. It's like, there will be lip gloss. There will at least be lip gloss. J.A. Williams, I empathize with this. Home with your back out, rest well, and I hope that it resolves. It's so hard. Lynn said, hi, Emily, allergy season has hit us hard here in the UK. Can you please say hello to my 14-year-old son? Lorcan, I hope I pronounced that right. We are watching together. Cheers. I hope I pronounced that properly and that was not an I. So thank you. Cheers. I'm sorry that allergy season has hit. Sometimes you need a day to stand. Was the gag order lifted yesterday in Idaho, Leah? Nope. It was set for hearing on June 9th. Art by Julie asked this earlier. Have they started jury selection yet? We are so far away from an Idaho trial. We are very, very far away from an Idaho trial. They picked a grand jury. The grand jury indicted, and now we've all moved on to post-indictment. Mary Smith said, I'm wearing hearsay today, having a rough day, but glad it means I can catch your live. Thanks, EDB. Glad you are here with the law nerds. Hopefully something I said today made you laugh. Or at least the ridiculousness of everything that's happening. One of the two. Leah said, I've learned so much from being here for like a week. Thank you, Emily. You're so knowledgeable. Glad to be here. I hope that I make clear what are my thoughts, what are my opinions, what I actually know, what I suspect, and what I have no idea about. That's what I try to do. Emily, who do you think will go to trial first, Chad Daybell or Bryan Kohberger? I have not been following Daybell close enough to know what is left, but knowing that the other part of that case went to trial, I imagine that has to be getting close to trial. So I don't know. Maybe Daybell, but that's a guess. That is not even an educated guess. That is a guess. Rosalind says US needs to clarify. Received a letter from DOD saying remove because the app can trap my sailor's IP address just by texting him, even when the app is closed. Rosalind, right. The amount of information that we are actually getting about what they are concerned about is not a lot. I think we need more information about what they're concerned about. And then we all need better information on how to lock down our own routers at home. What happens if you're visiting the state or just driving through? With regard to Montana, nothing. This has to really do with the App Store, not the users of the app. So it's trying to make Apple and Google do something, really, not the users. K-Rab said, Instagram is scary. I have no info on the app, but it knows who my financial advisor is and who cleans my house, plus my adults, kids, friends. These apps do track the phones that you're near, the places that you go, and the people you interact with. So it knows whose phones my phone is closest to. That's how it did all the contact tracing. We learned a lot more about that during 2020, didn't we? When it was like, you've been near a person who now has COVID. It's like, how the fuck do you know? And now we know how much they track. Elizabeth Cheatwood's a question regarding Brooks. Will we ever find out what happened with the false threat call? Probably not. And that's one of the things judges are concerned about in cases like this, is that these things happen when it's live. I think being on a delay maybe helps with some of that. And being on a delay maybe limits some of that. TikTok. Thanks, Ski. Casey Cat, how many times have you said something out loud with your phone nearby and suddenly you are bombarded with the ads? Same if you Google something, everyone is listening. Yes, and watching, because they all want to sell you things. For any of you that read Ready Player One, Ready Player Two, I don't remember if this is in the movie or the book. The book's way better, but they're talking about how much visual space they can sell on like your VR headset of advertising. And it just feels like that is grabbing for attention all the time, is what's popping up in your feed. I can always tell what my husband has been looking at on the internet because it's popping up in my ads when I read news articles. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. All right, I guess we need a wood chipper. What are you planning on doing with a wood chipper? No, we actually have over an acre. So he wants to mulch things, but also I was like, do you get flagged when you Google a wood chipper? Then again, shit, my husband's been Googling wood chippers and my kid has been Googling how long it takes a body to decompose for his zombie project. Well, fuck. There we are. With the noodly Googling. Does Montana TikTok users need to get Beth Dutton on this? Yeah. Yes. Clearly that's the direction they should have gone. Some people are motivated by having power. Kat in Virginia, that's probably right. And those are probably the people we don't want in power. We should volunteer people. They're always the best. It's like the person who really doesn't want to be president of the PTA is probably the person you want to be president of the PTA. You're like, I nominate you. We should just do that. We should volunteer people for like 4 years. Hey, go do this. Chat, you guys are funny. Debbie Jo said, I have 16 acres and don't have a wood chipper. FOMO is real. My husband really wanted one. I'm on all the lists now with the Googling. Damn it. Private browsing isn't private, Daniel. I know it's not all the way private. And I don't think either of my boys know how to use it. I definitely know my husband has no idea what private browsing is. We have things on VPN though. So maybe I've just outed us. Nord is supposed to kind of get that. Maybe I've just outed ourselves at what our searches are. Well, I told the zombie story a while ago. Just Call Me Hen said, instead of jury duty, political duty. Could you imagine how much would get done? Let me just think out loud for a minute here. Can you imagine how much would get done if they grabbed a bunch of people who are really busy and need to get back to work and we're like, okay, look, here's the issue. Here's what we know. How would you solve this problem? And by the way, we'll pay you for like 6 months out of the year to solve these problems and then let's get them done. And these are people who want to get the fuck out. It's like a jury that wants to decide before the end of the day on Friday because they have no plans on coming back. The thing is, all of our current politicians want to come back. They would like to stay in power. Get a bunch of people who don't want to come back and be like, hey, the sooner you solve this problem, then you don't have to come back. And they'll be like, solve it. We'll solve it. We want to be done. Put us in a room. Let us figure it out. Grab the people who do not want to come back and be like, hey, you're only here for this amount of time. And if you get done, you're out. You're done. You're done. And then people aren't vying to stay in power. They want to be gone. If you can solve the problem, you're done. It's like kids. The second you're done with the group project, you're out. Great. Do you know how motivated they are when they don't want to be there and they have to get a project done? Done. They're done. So solve the problem instead of, it feels like busy work at this point. It's like, well, we didn't get that done. So I guess we got to come back next term and try to do it. And that just goes on and on and on and on forever. Guess we got to come back next year. See you at the ice cream social. The ice cream social is actually real fucking fun. But guess we'll see you next year. All right, well, we'll take that up next year. And then we're all going to stand across the aisle at each other and go, you're the worst. Fuck you. Grab people who don't want to be there. Tell them to solve the problem. And let them solve the problem. That's all. Yeah, I have no problem with term limits. Had TikTok on my phone for one day. After the 7th DM from a scammer, I deleted it. Yeah, always a problem. That the scammers on Instagram are getting bold. Bold. There are so many of them. YouTube has actually gotten better. The comment scam's gone way down, I think. Or at least on my channel it has. Next gloss should be Motions in Pink Lemonade. I love it. Motions in Lemonade. Anne said, I also have TikTok on a separate device. The device has an email address used for nothing else. Cognito Snap Seal Cups for the win. Contigo. Contigo are pretty good. I'm just saying, look. So many scammers on Twitter. Yes, so many scammers on Twitter. Scammers send DMs. Yes, lots. Lots of DMs. I definitely don't want to be president. Don't want to be judge. Just want to do this. Just want to have the conversations with y'all. Don't think I'm qualified. But I sometimes have ideas. Look, just if politicians had other jobs that weren't just political, the way our country was more when it started, when they had to like go back to farming or whatever to make their money, they're more motivated to get stuff done when it's their full-time job. Look, this is true in all government agencies. If you've worked in a government agency, you know exactly what I mean. There are those in government that are not motivated to get shit done because then they're just going to get more work and the work's never going to end. So they're like, fuck it, I'm not taking on more projects. The faster I do this project, the faster you're going to give me another fucking project. Fuck you. I'm going to take 3 weeks with this because then you're not going to overload me with work. And that is exactly what happens this is not just politicians. This is all government entities. It's like the work never ends. So why the fuck would I do it faster? It's like at the DMV. This line never ends. Why would I go faster? Then I have more work. And if I go faster, there's more room for mistakes. And then you're going to fucking yell at me. So I'm just going to go slower and make sure that I get it done because the work doesn't end ever. And you see it when people work quickly. Others will either come up to them and be like, excuse me, you're working too fast. Can you slow it down? But even if you work faster, you don't get to leave at the end of the day. So why would you work faster? Yeah. Because then you just get more work thrown at you. If I get my caseload clear, you're just going to throw somebody else's caseload at me. So why would I bother? Right? And it's the same with politicians. We're going to all be back here anyway. We'll just deal with it then. No! People need you to deal with it. Function. I could rant forever. Just look, if they had other shit they had to do, things might get done faster. Just saying. Just saying. It's like, look, when you work for yourself and then you're done, you're done. You're like, oh, I'm done for the day. I got my work done. Peace. But when you're in a large company like that, when you're never done, there's no motivation to work faster. It's like, oh, it's a never ending flow of shit until I die. Great. Sorry. I got in trouble in a government job once because I worked too fast and there weren't tasks available to give other people. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Correct. If I had a clear desk, my boss would bring other people's overflow to me. New habit, never clear the desk, even if the work is done. Uh-huh. My government job experience, work fast so after lunch I'm already finished and can find a nice quiet place to nap and wait until 5 p.m. That's not a bad idea. As long as you can avoid people from giving you other work, then it's fine. But I have friends that are very efficient at work, and it's like, so I got my stuff cleared and then I had this chunk of time to do other stuff. And then they came in and were like, hey, it seems like you have some time. Can you do this? Because somebody else couldn't get it done. It's like, fuck. Then you're getting punished. It's like the kid in the group project that's like, why do I have to do all the work? And the others are like, because you want a good grade and you care. So we know you won't let it slide. The rest of us don't give a fuck. Group projects, training you for government work. Okay, that's not everyone. There are great government employees, but it can be very frustrating. It can be very frustrating. I'm sorry that I don't have solutions. I only have questions. But I think if we keep talking about it, maybe we come up with some solutions. Who knows? Maybe we do. Maybe we don't. Either way, I enjoy all of you. Law nerds asking questions about the world's problems today. I really, really think that we do a very good job, and I appreciate you, of talking about government without devolving into political fighting. And I appreciate that because I think talking about government as a whole needs to be talked about, because the flip-flop between political parties a lot of the time feels like flip-flop of political parties. But when we talk about government as a whole and what government can and can't do, government under the last president tried to ban TikTok. Government under this president is trying to ban TikTok. We need to talk about, can the government ban TikTok? Can the government not ban TikTok? If the government bans TikTok, what are they using to justify that? How can that be used in other ways? Is that okay? Is that an overreach? Is there a balance there? Do people not give a shit? And then the government's like, fine, we'll just monitor all the things that you do. It's fine. I think we need to talk about it, and I appreciate you for being able to talk about it. Law nerds, you are the best. And I think having civil discourse about it matters. Maybe that's naive. Maybe it doesn't matter anymore. I think it matters. I think we matter. I think talking about these things matter. And I also think pushing back on social media and be like, you don't really need to track that much information about me, matters. And I think you matter. And I think how you feel about this matters. So thank you. Thank you. Look, we are asking questions that absolutely matter, because it might seem like just one thing and just one app, but just one thing is how a lot of things get expanded. And if we start talking about it now, we can at least see what's happening. And then when it comes to elections, we know what questions to ask. My lip has gotten goopy because of my coffee. And that matters too, because these are the questions to ask. And I want to know. We need a shirt that says government equals I have questions. Us, I have questions. I have questions counts for so much. I have questions. And we should be able to ask questions. And we should keep asking questions. I saw a great comment just go by in the chat from Elmac. My dad always says whichever party gets in, the government always wins. They're kind of like the house in Vegas, right? It's important. So thank you. Thank you to our mods today. Thank you for hanging with me while we talk about TikTok. We will do a dive into all the TikTok lawsuits. We'll talk about government powers and prior restraints on speech, and we'll talk about the moderation and what's happening to the people working at TikTok trying to keep people safe. It matters. Amy said, until there is digital ethics law in place, then this will keep going. And I think it needs to be discussed. What are we doing with AI? What are we doing with social media apps? What are the boundaries? And what matters? And this extends to like deep fake. What rights do people have to their likeness and their image? what recourse do people have if they're deep faked into content that is not their content, whether it's been them selling a pair of shoes or them in adult situations? What next? There's a lot of conversation here. We're going to keep having it. Thank you, Lawnards. You're the best. I will talk to you tomorrow. I will let you know. Sign up to lawnerdalert.com. I will let you know what time I'm going live tomorrow once I decide. I'm working on exactly when I will be live. It'll be after the premiere of the Emily show. I'll be in the chat with you at 11 a.m. Be prepared to be outraged. Tomorrow, we're talking about the Roberta Laundrie burn after reading letter in the civil lawsuit over intentional infliction of emotional distress from the Petito parents, Gabby Petito's parents, to Bryan Laundrie's parents, diving back into a novel civil suit. I have not seen a civil suit like this where you have the parents of a murder victim suing the parents of their murderer. It is a different type of a case. And I think a lot of it's going to really piss you off. So I will see you tomorrow for the podcast. If you want a heads up on that, that podcast goes live at like 4 a.m. on your audio apps. If you want to hear it before it goes live here. So Blue says, why does IG matter what apps we have that we choose personally if it might be trying to control a narrative? I'm not quite sure what the question is, Blues, but thank you for the super chat. Elizabeth said, I had a sign on my desk that said, of course I don't look busy. I did it right the first time. Boss made me take it down. Someone was offended. Politicians need monetary penalty for not meeting deadlines. I mean, at work, if you don't meet deadlines, it's a big problem, isn't it? It is. All right, y'all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being Lawnards. I appreciate you guys. See you soon. That didn't roll. You can still.
You can find all the Law Nerd goodies at lawnerdshop.com. Connect with me on social media at the Emily D. Baker. And don't forget to check out my podcasts, The Emily Show, and the new podcast, Quick Bits, summarizing everything I talk about on my Tuesday and Thursday live streams. You know, when you only have time for just the quick bits.